Okay, as you may know, ChatGPT is not particularly useful when it comes to doing academic research. So I have here scite.AI. Now, it has a fantastic assistant option here, and so you can just ask it some natural text questions focused on the problem that you're trying to solve. So for this one, I've already pre-designed a question here. So tell me about future or forward-looking perspectives in e-waste or recycling and recovery. Basically, I'm looking for studies that are future focused, pest sort of factors, something around the industrial structure and things like that. So I've left this fairly open, fairly broad, and I'm going to see what it comes back with now. Now, Scite is different to ChatGPT. So this is a system and a platform here which actually goes out, it calls out. You can see here, for example, that it has actually broken my plain language search into a number of different sort of searches here. And it's busy collecting some of these studies, shows me the publications used and consulted, and it's busy writing for me a little bit of a summary of this work. Now, what it's done is it's managed to put together a paragraph here, and it's dropped the citations in here as well. Now, I can click on one of these citations, it's going to pop it up, it's going to point to it on the side here as well. And I could, for example, I can see what journal it comes from. I can look at the number of publications citing this work. I can click over to see the full text, and it's going to use the DOI link, for example, and I can see all the references here. Now, by itself, it's not always a very effective system, and you'll see as I scroll down here that it's picked up 6 publications. Even though it's actually consulted many more, it's actually cited 6. Are these the best 6? No. What can I tell from these citations? It looks like they're primarily open source citations, and that's one of the criticisms or comments I have about Scite is when I'm looking at management focused studies, it doesn't seem to pick up the big prestigious management journals as much as the more open source journals and management studies published in open source journals. And it could be considered a limitation or a weakness of this approach. But it's given us a nice paragraph here. Now, one of the other things I might want to do is I know that there's some good points here, particularly about technologies, some trends in recycling, rare earth elements, etc. But I do know the government policy is going to be a big impact here. So can you give me some policy focused research here that really focus on what the government can do or should be doing in this space? What sort of policy changes may be required? And again, it's breaking it into separate responses. It's composing a response based on 25 results. It's quite impressive. And then it's going to screen through those and focus down on the key items that it uses to answer the question. And so we can wait for it to do that. Now, at the end of the day, it can come up with some very different writing each time. So here, for example, what it's done is it has generated, again, a sort of a single paragraph answer. Now, sometimes when I'm using the assistant by Scite tool, it will give a very descriptive Wood et al. 2023 said this, Wang et al. 2022 said this, and it does a little paragraph by little paragraph, study by study. And that's not particularly helpful for us. But even here, what else can we do? But ourselves as the best at reading and analyzing and finding articles. But what I've done is I've cut and pasted those 2 paragraphs into ChatGPT, and I'm going to ask it for a bit of support and guidance in terms of what's going on here. So it's got an overview of the key findings. Coming from the business school, some of these elements are not really focused on what I'm after in terms of management policy level changes. And so that's partly why I had the second query there about policy focused articles. Now, one of the good things about doing it this way is it really breaks down exactly what's going on, exactly where it's getting these data from. And it's also, by looking through here, Ghana, Botswana, China. And so we're looking at South Africa, more developing, emerging nations rather than developed nations. So that's an interesting challenge here for me. It's not necessarily what I'm looking for. And again, Cape Town, Africa, China. And so by doing it this way, I get a pretty good, interesting insight there. So I might want to. So I've asked it to use these to write something out. Now, what I haven't done is I didn't tell it to include citations. So it's possible it might exclude the citations there, which isn't all that useful for me. And so it looks like it's skipping the citations. And it looks like it's picking them all up a bit effectively there. Okay. Nice. Okay, so that's not too bad at all. I'm quite happy with that. It's given me some overview there, and it's helped me to piece these together an awful bit better. And it's given me the start of the draft there. Here as well to download the references. I can export as BibTeX or RIS. I can then import it into Zotero quite happily. But sometimes I might want something a little bit simpler. So I've just exported references as a CSV file, and we'll have a look at what that opens up. Back in ChatGPT, using GPT-4, I've uploaded the CSV file. Just very broadly, and I tell me about the references in the file. What can it say? Can it give me a bit of overview and a bit of background to the contents of the file? Yep. Okay. So it's got details there. Um, and basically, it's just taken the data there and it's tried to give it to me in a bit more manageable fashion there. It is going to go 5 times per 5 articles. But I want it to now export all the information in APA style, 7 edition APA to try and sort of make this more manageable for me. You know, if I wanted to share some of this information with one of my students. Uh, I have not had that before. That's what I was looking for. And that, in my mind, is quite a useful way of circumventing some of the administrative or tedious workflow that I might have when I'm trying to sort of bring the data in or out of different tools. And so I think this is really good using ChatGPT-4 to get around some of the work, to make my work faster, particularly if I'm sort of moving or forming information or data from one system to another. It's given me data. One of the things I did want actually was the author name. Now that looks like a complete balls up in terms of some sort of plain text that I can cut and paste maybe into an email to one of my students. Now, I guess I could extract all of this manually, but of course, what are some other ways? What are some other things that I can do? So for this, I'm going to switch back to ChatGPT Plus. I am going to import the file into ChatGPT Plus, and I'm going to see what I can do with it then. Because I'm curious about what else I can do. What I've got here is I've just hidden some of the information, just focused more on the journals, on the year and the volume. I'm going to take a screenshot and I am going to put this into our friend at ChatGPT or and see whether or not it can do optical character recognition and then give me back this information in a format that I can edit it. So let's found out if it can do that. Okay, so I've told it to take a screenshot, turn it into a text file editable, and I've told it to use Markdown for me. So I'll see what I can do with that. Okay, so it's allowed me to download the Markdown file. I thought it was going to just give me some Markdown code on the screen. And I think it shows that we can actually get some fairly interesting use cases here for how we can use ChatGPT 4 to cut through some of the workload here and save ourselves time, do some more work in creative ways we've been able to do before, perhaps unless you were already a very good programmer or coder, and you could actually work out some really fast ways to take these shortcuts yourselves. So let me know in the comments down below, is this useful? Is it interesting? And what other ideas do you have how you can use these technologies and approaches to make your workflow faster and easier as well?